Hi everyone, hope you're doing wonderful. This is your host Priyanka, and you're watching the very first episode of the Early Career Podcast. So, welcome, and if you are here, I can tell that you're a curious person, you want to learn, you want to grow, and that is the secret to success. So, you're already halfway there. I've been wanting to create this podcast for the last 2 years, and I never got myself to do it. So finally, I decided that I really need to do it if I want to help you. And that is the reason, that's what drove me to actually start this podcast, is to help all of you. I understand what it's like to be in your early career and not have a lot of guidance, not have a lot of people around that can actually help you to understand and relate to the fear and the uncertainty and the lack of information, maybe to some extent, out there, in terms of how do I what career path do I choose, and will I be successful in this path, and if I choose this path, what kind of roles are out there, what kind of companies should I look at, and will I be successful, will I make enough money, will I be able to take care of myself. And especially when you're in your 20s, there's a lot of uncertainty because you're making a lot of really big life decisions, right? I would say now, I think kids from the age of 10, they're starting to make very big life decisions. I know when you're in your school, you might be in your high school, or you might be in your undergrad or your masters, or even the fact that you might be in the workforce in a different profession, and you maybe want to transition into technology, or you're in technology and you just want to learn and grow, right? So this is for all of you, but specifically I want to focus on folks who are in their early career and are really struggling to try to navigate some of those questions, concerns, even just have a mentor or a friend, right, who can just kind of empathize with you. So thank you for being here. And my very first topic that I chose for this podcast is about an assumption, or rather a preconceived notion, that computer science is coding. So, sorry, I just got a sneeze. So, computer science, when um, when I was in high school and when I was in my undergrad, I don't know why I chose technology. And I don't know, I did my undergrad in computer science. I don't know why I chose that. Maybe I thought it was a more stable career. Of course, well, I'm also Indian, so, maybe that's why I chose that, because I didn't know any other path. And I thought this is the only way to, make money, I guess. And everyone around me was doing computer science, so I just did it. And I think as an Indian, it's a very cultural thing. You're either an engineer, or you're a doctor, or you're a lawyer, something like that, because everyone around you is just doing that. So then you just end up doing that, which is fine, right? And fast forward, I did my undergrad in computer science, and then I came to the US to do my master's in computer science with a specialization in networking. I struggled to get a job. So finally, after a long time, I got my dream job at Amazon Web Services, which is where I worked for the last 8 years. So I kind of got thrown into one of the biggest tech companies of the world. And this was in 2017, where the cloud and the concept of the cloud was, kind of just getting started. People were just starting to know, organizations were just starting to build their sort of cloud adoption strategy and things like that. So, and honestly, before, when I was in my master's, I was very scared. I thought, what am I going to do? I don't know what skills I have. I didn't like coding that much, and I was good at networking, which is, funny story about that, because I actually failed in networking in my first semester. You had a core course called computer networking, and I actually failed in that course in the first semester in my master's. So I felt very driven to then just finish the core course. So second semester I passed. I cleared the course. I think I got like a B plus because I just went behind my professors and I just kind of sat with them in their office hours and just asked them to help me solve every single question, because for me I felt like it was very hard. And because I got a B plus, I just felt more interested in computer networking. And then I literally in my third semester chose advanced networking, which is a specialty course, and it's not a compulsory course that you have to take. But it's interesting how your brain works, where um, once you familiarize yourself with something, you actually want to do more of it, because now you just know more of it, know more of how to do it, right? So that being said, when I graduated, or when I was going to graduate for my master's and I was looking for a job, I also assumed that computer science is coding. Computer science equals coding. So you have to be a SDE, right? Software development engineer. And not only did I not like coding, I also didn't understand coding very well. And I could of course studied all those algorithms, data structures, bubble sort, merge sort, quick sort, all of those things, right? And I studied C++, but I was interested in SQL. I knew SQL very well, and just kind of some things just fit in your head. And this is one of those things you need to really understand what fits well in your head, and that's one way to decide what path you want to take. When I finally got a job at AWS, it was called the solutions architect. The role was for a solutions architect, and I didn't know what that was. And I think that role was actually new to the industry itself, not just to me. So I took it because I was in my early career. That was my first job. I said, you know what, I'll take it. And turns out that it happened to be the best fit for me. And you know why? It's because it involved architecture, so technical architecture, meaning that you kind of look at technology as a breadth at a higher level, in the sense that you understand at a high level databases and machine learning and analytics and storage and compute. And you kind of look at all of these as building blocks, like Lego blocks, right? And then you kind of put architectures together to solve a certain problem. And that role combined this along with the ability to speak and have conversations with customers, and basically have strong communication skills. Which, by the way, at that time I didn't know I actually had strong communication skills. I thought, I was a very shy person in school, so that's just the image I carried of myself. But in the role, I just started feeling so passionate, and it's almost like this person that was hidden inside of me just came out, right? And people around me would say, "Oh, Priyanka, you're an extrovert. You seem like someone who's great at speaking." And I was like, "Wait, what? Like, i'm not I'm not, I couldn't comprehend that, because that's just not who I thought I was. And in my school years, that is not who I was. And maybe that's because, different environments bring out different sides of you, right? And because this role, the solutions architect role, involved a lot of communication with customers externally, I realized that this is a skill that not only it's not something that I had, but it's also something I loved doing, because you can have a skill, but you don't necessarily like doing that for a living, right? But I actually liked talking. I mean, it's why I'm here on this podcast, right? I liked talking, and I like sharing with customers my ideas, and I liked talking to my colleagues and networking and mentoring, and all of those topics we'll cover in this podcast about how to do those things. But point being that I kind of got a role that had a fit or a balance of both building as well as architecture and communication, public speaking. And it was just, I couldn't have asked for a better role to start my career. So, coming back to our topic of today, which is computer science just about coding? I'm sure you know the answer now that I've explained it to you, what my journey was like, and that it's not. And, a lot of people also tell me that, Priyanka, I can't do this 9 to 5. This is just not for me. Like go to work at 9 and come back at 5 p.m. This is just not for me. I can't sit in front of my laptop. And I couldn't relate to that, because I was like, wait, I don't do that. I take breaks from work when I need to. I feel like I'm not just sitting in front of a laptop. I feel like I'm solving real world problems using technology. And it felt like I was, really making an impact on the world through the cloud, through technology. And I could see customers using this. For example, during COVID, I helped build a no touch contact center solution that would allow patients, the resident patients in long term care facilities to actually communicate with their loved ones just through voice, being able to dial the number. So basically, speak to Alexa and dial the number and go through that whole process using just voice, but also play games and watch TV through voice and having no touch as part of that experience, which significantly would improve their mental health, especially during that long 1.5 year of COVID that we all had, right? And I built that. And I was so proud of that. So when people tell me, oh, I can't do this 9 to 5, and I can't sit in front of my laptop, I couldn't relate to that. And if you like being creative, you like taking a problem that exists in the world and trying to use technology, because believe it or not, in some way or the other today, every aspect of our life is intertwined with technology, right? So, in some shape or form, you have to bring technology to either digitize an existing platform or to modernize something or create an application for something where technology was never used before, right? So, in some shape or form, technology will be involved, whether you like it or not, right? And so, you could be part of that. You could be part of understanding, hey, you know what? Let me think about what problem exists. What are some of the big problems that exist in the world? And I'll tell you, there are many problems that exist. Right now we're looking at things from a sustainability perspective, from a carbon emissions perspective. There are so many energy utilization, tracking of that. There's just so many new age problems, AI, and that's something we'll cover in the next session next Tuesday. But there's just so many problems. And as a solutions architect, I felt like we were encouraged to look at it from that perspective. We were encouraged to just look around you. In fact, I was hired into Amazon Web Services through this program, through this graduate program called TechU. And you should be able to, by the way, uh, AWS and a lot of other tech companies will have some sort of graduate program that you should absolutely look into and apply if you're in your undergrad, if you're in your third year, and also if you're in your master's, and if you're in the end of your first year, because they kind of start posting those programs, those openings for students who may still be in school. So you don't have to graduate to apply for it yet, but at least by the time you're done graduating, you already have a job, right? So you can start applying to these programs before you graduate. And during that time where I was in this graduate program, it was a 6 month training period, which was amazing, where we were encouraged to just kind of look around and find a problem and use the cloud. So use all these building blocks that we talked about, the Lego pieces, which is databases and networking and storage and compute and machine learning, whatever, IoT, whatever you wanted to use. But you need to find a problem then you need to create a solution, and then you need to build it on AWS, right? So I remember some of my colleagues came up with some sort of, I don't remember exactly, but some sort of automated beer dispenser. Someone came up with like a IoT based coffee machine to um, understand the preferences of the user, and then kind of personalize the coffee machine to maybe your mood and your taste and your just everyday behavior. So used machine combination of machine learning and IoT. I had come up, me and my team, my colleagues, my team had come up with this way to make interviewing easier. So when you're interviewing, right, if you have interviewed with someone before, they will be kind of taking notes, and they'll tell you that, hey, I may be looking down because I'm taking notes, but please know that I'm listening to you, right? And so that kind of takes away the eye contact and the connection from the interviewer, right? So we realized that as a problem, and we took that on as a challenge to solve. So we used a service that would then convert um, speech to text, and then kind of assimilate that as a note or a summary, which then an interviewer will receive at the end of the meeting once they're done with it, or when they're done with the interview. Then that could then be translated to also meetings, where a meeting could be recorded, and at the end you get all the sort of meeting minutes, is what you call it, or a summary, without having to sit and physically write all of those things down, right? So there are so many ways in which you can actually be a technologist. You can be in technology, you can be in computer science, or information technology, and use your creativity, use your drive and your passion, and even, for instance, your youth. Because we're I'm addressing you guys as though you're in your early career, which means that you must be in your either your teens or your 20s. And don't discount how much passion you bring to the table. Don't discount how much um, the corporate world needs people like you to actually drive businesses and products and services that actually involve now the next generation of people, right? So it's not just about uh, experienced people anymore. It's about the passion, it's about creativity, it's about who can bring the best problems, or who can bring the most important problems and bring the best solutions to the table. That's what I did, because I was in my early career, and I came up with some of the most important challenges. For example, I found out a need in communication to actually use satellite to create real time streaming of data from the aircraft to the ground, to then process it and then perform some sort of analytics. And I'll talk more about that later on. But and that's how I built the commercial aviation business unit. More specifically, connected aircraft is what we call it. So, and that all came from passion. I didn't have an experience in aviation, neither did I have any formal education or anything like that, no existing credibility in that area. I just had passion. I felt like this was a problem I wanted to solve. I validated it with people around me that this is actually a problem to be solved. And then I took the help of engineers in our company, and developers, and builders who are better than me, to actually help bring this solution to life through code. So you don't have to know it all. And when it comes specifically to coding, no, computer science is not just coding, it is a lot more than that. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to take on computer science or information systems as a career. I know there's a lot of people that will help you out. If you want to just chat with someone who's done this before, reach out to them on LinkedIn. Reach out. You can reach out to me as well. Most people are happy to help. And with that, we've reached the end of our very first episode. So thank you very, very much for your time listening. And if you have any comments, if you feel like there's something that I could have done differently, maybe the format or topics, any new topic that you want to suggest, anything like that, I'm very happy to take on feedback. But make sure that it's constructive, because if the feedback is just negative, then I won't be able to help you, right? So help me help you by giving good feedback, feedback that I can actually put into action and help you in your career, help you in your early years to be successful and for you to really be able to lead in your 20s. Our next episode is going to be on emotional intelligence, because I feel like you can have less IQ, but if you don't have the right kind of emotional intelligence that it takes, then you will not succeed. So I'm here to provide you with the right set of emotional intelligence and IQ to be able to take on the world. And so our next episode, which is going to be on Thursday, will be focused on EQ. And the topic will be about fear, self-doubt, imposter syndrome, the feeling that you will make it, the feeling that you will fail. So until then, stay healthy, stay passionate, and stay brave. You'll make it. You'll be fine. All right? Happy Diwali to everyone celebrating, and I will see you again on Thursday. Take care. Bye.